Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So first things first, I have a small but exciting announcement. My latest merch, which is the ENFP apparel range, has officially dropped, and so you can check it down below, link in the description, and feel free to like, subscribe, and follow my Patreon as well. Okay, so let's get started on a very important topic that I have been thinking about, talking about for a really long time, but I was kind of afraid that it would like step on a lot of people's toes because it's like an elephant in the room. People don't really want to address this issue, especially in the midst of like social media and body positivity. People don't really want to talk about how, just the idea of beauty and gaining external validation is not the same thing as really being confident and building up your self-esteem. In fact, it can actually be a distraction. So, before I begin on this very important topic, I just wanted to share a story that kind of brought me to really want to do this video. So at first I was thinking like, should I make this video, especially since I'm sharing on Instagram. This is where a lot of attractive people are, and some of them may not actually feel comfortable hearing someone talk about this issue. But I do think that this is actually especially needed for people who may feel personally attacked, because I mean it as a form of tough love for both myself and other people who have not realized this. So I was recently like in a writing workshop. I'm into creative writing, and I happened to talk to this mom of this boy who is basically like having a lot of issues in his life, right? He's anxious, he's depressed, he's having a lot of problems in his like teenage years, and he was also dyslexic, so meaning he couldn't really read and write like everyone else. However, he found that he had a crush on this girl and she rejected him, and so obviously that affected his self-esteem even more. And the funny thing is, in order to resolve this, right, in his mind to get the girl to like him, he decided to go into this bodybuilding class. And he started like researching into very extreme bodybuilding measures to kind of look like the perfect body image. And he thought that just by appearing attractive, that the girl would actually want to date him. And that story actually made me want to do this video, because I realized that a lot of people are not aware that looking good is not going to guarantee you success in life. It's not going to guarantee you a healthy relationship, or job success, or health, or whatever. I mean, I think people are very easily taken in by this advertising gimmicks, and also by just the kind of information that we get from entertainment, that as long as you have a makeover, as long as someone who looks average starts looking like very attractive, then automatically all your problems are resolved, and you're just going to be a very confident person with huge success stories, and the best person by your side, your soulmate, whatever. And the reality is, it's really not as simple as, oh, you are good looking and therefore you're going to be confident. And I think a lot of people deep inside, they know that it's not equal, right? Like having good looks does not mean you actually have high self-esteem. But a lot of people think on a subconscious level, because of the kind of, advertising, like we are kind of programmed into thinking that, oh, if we maybe look good by buying that dress, or by going for this like weightlifting program for guys, or just doing some kind of huge change to our figure or our looks, that's going to actually be a very huge solution to our life's problems. And I can tell you from experience and also from my own observation that that is certainly not true. So, for those of you who don't know, I went to college in New York City where there's a lot of attractive people, especially females. Like my school, New York University, has a very high like female population, and honestly, objectively speaking, a lot of them are very, very attractive, based on mainstream standards of attractiveness. And when I was, someone who was, I used to really not, I guess, invest that much in my appearance. When I was younger, I wore glasses, and if you have my Instagram, you know what I looked like when I was younger. I mean, I used to have this like perfect idea, of someone who is really attractive. I would think, oh, like their life is probably perfect. I mean, obviously it is not true, but I just had this, I guess, um, image in my mind, thinking that, wow, like they have their life made up for them. Obviously, they're just gonna have a lot of people to choose from, and obviously, yes, it does open up opportunities, and there are people giving you more attention. But again, it doesn't really equate to self-esteem. Like those are completely different matters. There's actually no correlation between getting more attention and actually building up a healthy self-esteem. So I think the confusion between the two is what actually leads to a lot of these problems. So back to my story about NYU, I noticed that actually among the people I know, surprisingly, it's not always the most attractive people who actually get into the healthiest relationships. Like I would know people who are, I mean, average looking by like mainstream standards, like, the kind of standards that you see in magazines and stuff. I mean, they may not, put in that much effort in makeup or dressing or whatever, or maybe not go to the gym all the time, but they actually are in very great relationships. Like, I know people like that. And on the other hand, I also know very attractive people, like people who seem to have it all together, who are in like constant toxic relationships, who are cheated on, who are just like dealt with the worst hand. And if you really look at these people, and some of them are like, I'm talking about like influencers, people with like maybe 100,000 followers and above or more, and they seem to have it all together. But when you actually know them personally, it's really not the case. So I know of one. I'm not going to mention who, obviously. She just had like boyfriend after boyfriend cheating on her, and normal people would be like maybe wondering why, because as a society we have been taught, or at least we have this like impression that somehow looks is gonna get you somewhere in life. But truth is, the real thing that's gonna get you far in life is self-esteem, and that is a very internal thing. It doesn't really matter almost what you look like, as long as obviously you put in like some effort into looking decent and presentable as a person. But I'm talking about like meeting the mainstream standard of hotness is not going to be the real root of your happiness. It's not really going to lead you to great relationships. The real indicator of great relationships and great success stories in jobs, in like communities, is always been high self-esteem. And what I mean by high self-esteem is if the person is willing to work on himself or herself, maybe be open about your own flaws, like realizing there are things that I have to work on, there are things that I have done wrong in the past, there are things that I can actually improve on, and being honest with yourself. In a relationship, am I choosing the wrong partners, or am I always in a state of insecurity because I am not sure if that person is going to abandon me because of past abandonment issues. I mean, obviously, everyone has their own like unique problems to deal with, and this is not like attacking anyone. This is not like poking at anyone's insecurities, but this is just the fact of life. Like everyone has different things to deal with, and I do notice in my observations and experiences that typically people who end up leading the happiest lives are not people who are like the hottest. They are people who are able to be the most honest with themselves, and people who are willing to invest in themselves internally. And obviously, I'm not saying, you have to like throw away your makeup, or, throw away your nice dresses, and or like your fitness or gym membership just to, look like a hobo and expect that everyone in the world love you, because that is like the other extreme, right? That's not realistic either. Especially if you yourself care about physical attraction, um, it is unlikely that you would find someone who is really hot, and you yourself, if you don't put in any effort, like expecting that to happen. Like obviously we have to also be mindful of how we present ourselves to the world. um, but what I'm trying to say that it is not the end all be all. Like a lot of people are neglecting the even more important aspect of ourselves, which is actually our inner selves, and also working on our own dreams and goals and ambitions that can actually change the way that we relate to others. um, so I actually got this idea from this YouTuber called Danica Walker. I'm going to link her channel. So she talks about how, in the past she used to be, always in a party scene, which obviously is nothing wrong with that, but just saying for her, it's because she was actually looking for guys' validation. She wanted guys to tell her that she's pretty and all that, which is understandable. Like everyone has been there. But the problem is that she actually found herself overly reliant on this forms of validation, and she got herself into a lot of trouble because a lot of the guys did not want like long-term relationships with her. And long story short, she actually became a single mother, and that was like the lowest point in her life. But then she really took the time to work on herself, and she actually started the process by working on her own goals and dreams. Like she started to write a list of the dreams that she had, that she wanted to go for in her lifetime. Like whatever things that she wanted to do, and she started to go after them instead of thinking about how to get that next like, and or getting guys to respond to her messages. And I think even though yes, she did improve her physical appearance, but she did use that improvement in conjunction with working on her more like internal self-improvement, if that makes sense. So she doesn't have to depend on people to make herself feel good, because it's going to be very, very short-lived. And I'm going to use a historical example here. I'm sure everyone knows Marilyn Monroe, and she's obviously very seductive. Like she's so attractive. I think both men and women love her, and she's amazing in acting as well. But unfortunately, she actually led a very painful, like not such a happy life. Like if you actually listen to her interviews, she talked about how she was abandoned as a child. She was an orphan. She had to deal with a lot of abandonment issues. And, in the entertainment industry, it's even more difficult because people are constantly expecting you to look better. So that's a problem with, good-looking people. We always want to look better. And I'm not saying, like, I'm part of that top-notch good-looking people, because obviously I've seen a lot of, like, way hotter people. But in general, if you look better and better, it's like never ending. It's never going to be a time where you actually feel like, oh, this is good enough, because you're always going to see other people who look even better. And that's what happens to a lot of influencers. And also Marilyn Monroe herself was constantly being kind of pitted against other people are pitted against her, and she was kind of used by the entertainment industry to produce all these films that show her in a very like two-dimensional or one-dimensional way. And she wasn't happy because she didn't really have the time, and she also didn't really invest in herself before the world started to pay attention to her. And in the end, she was actually very lost, and all her marriages ended badly, and the rest of the story. So it really is, I think, a very sobering tale for people in general to really think about this. Next time If you ever feel like you're not enough and you want to hit the gym or buy that expensive makeup, think about, internally, is there something that I actually have to face? Because, that is actually the more difficult question. That is actually the more difficult thing to do, because it's always easier, to spend money on something to look good, to look better. It takes probably less time, because working on your own, sometimes it can be deep-seated issues from childhood for some people. Sometimes it could be maybe things that happen in school, or, certain insecurities that are related to, I don't know, maybe like things that you cannot change and you have to like make peace with it. There are a lot of things that may require years of patience to work on, and so a lot of people don't really want to begin. But I just want to say that, obviously I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to tell you, what you can do that would absolutely change your life for the better. But I think just this is meant for a commentary to just let people know that this problem exists, and that people have to be aware that, this is a society, even with the body positive movement, it's very focused on the external. And I feel like it's almost like the other side of the same coin. Now people are getting butt injections. Now people are getting insecure over not looking like thick enough. And then there's like skinny shaming now, and people are still chasing after the external validation. Even as a plus size model, is still modeling. You're still chasing after likes on Instagram. And a lot of these people, the problem with them is not that they are modeling, is that a lot of these people still have very deep-seated self-esteem issues that they are ignoring, because they think that, okay, so by society giving me these praises, I can kind of sweep aside, the more severe issues. And these issues are not going to go away if you just, plaster it with some kind of makeup. If you cover it up, it's not going to go away. It's just going to fester. It's like if you have a wound, a very deep wound, and you just use like a band-aid on it, it's not going to do anything to it. It's just hiding from the problem. And that's what I see. The problem with the body positive movement is that a lot of people are only focusing on the external results, like, oh, plus size models now have exposure. And do you know that people who are plus size, they actually have to maintain that size in order to continue to model? So they actually don't have a say in their size. It's like any other modeling. You have to keep at that size. And so, because if they get, for example, if they want to exercise, okay, for their own benefit, if they want to eat better, in terms of like maybe they want to cut down calories, if they do that, they're not going to get a contract, because plus size models have a certain size range as well. So in a way, it's also a form of control. And I don't know why not many people are talking about it. I think it's a very important issue. And a lot of people are just silenced when they try to criticize the movement, because it's not long-term. It's not bringing long-term self-esteem boost or even awareness to these people. It's just focusing on, getting people to buy products, getting people to go for those fashion shows. It's very commercial. And it's, at the end of the day, it's not benefiting people in terms of how they are as a complete person. And, ultimately, if you are looking for a healthy relationship, or for, just relationships in life to be healthy in general, it's really about you as a complete person. It's not about looks alone. Nobody is going to date you for looks alone, unless they are some kind of narcissist, someone who's just looking for a hookup or whatever. If you are talking about a healthy relationship, nobody is going to only look at looks. Because at the end of the day, it's about two people communicating with each other, two people getting to know each other. So all the issues that you hide in the background is going to emerge. And that's why a lot of, relationships break apart. Even if those two people are extremely hot, if they don't work on what they need to work on, and if they're not, investing enough in terms of working on their flaws and, working on how to communicate better, then it's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to bring about a long-term kind of solution. I know that it may not be an easy thing for a lot of people to hear. People want to hear like the good things, and obviously, again, I'm not saying like working on looks is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because it is a part of yourself as well. Like if you feel more good about yourself wearing a nice dress, then obviously go ahead. And if you feel good about yourself wearing makeup, then go ahead. But I think the real issue here is not to grow reliance, like not to treat it as it's a form of oxygen. And nowadays I used to wear makeup all the time. I used to wear makeup like every single day because I was in NYU and I felt like, oh my god, everyone else is so attractive. But later on I just didn't do that anymore, and I feel like I am now able to kind of not be so reliant on makeup, and I don't wear it as much, and I don't I guess spend a lot of time on it anymore. Again, if it's for personal enjoyment, then it's great. But at the end of the day, we have to be aware of what is truly important. And I think it's about being holistic in your development and being aware that we are all people as a whole. It's not just our face or figure. People do relate to us as a person in a complete package. That's like the word that I thought of. But anyway, so remember to like and subscribe, and also share the video if you liked it. And really, this is something that I've been working on my channel, and I have a lot of doubts from my parents. They are wondering if I'm wasting my time, the whole Asian environment. And so I would really appreciate it if you give me help of any sorts. You can check out my merch store, like, subscribe, and so on. And I really hope that I can continue to deliver content and get better equipment. So I hope to see you soon. Bye.